Euphoria Season 2 finished at the end of last month, and the HBO hit saw fireworks throughout the entire season, to say the very least. The finale finished with Ashtray being shot by police, but some fans have claimed they could see the writing on the wall for him as early as the first episode in the season. Today, we're discussing all the clues you might have missed surrounding his death. Stay tuned. First up, let's have a quick recap of what happened in that crazy Season 2 finale. Custer tries to get Fez to admit his guilt in the murder of Mouse, before Faye tells him to be quiet. Ash realizes Custer is working with the cops and stabs him in the neck, which is lovely. Fez then finishes him off by suffocating him before putting his phone in a drink. Before all this takes place, Lexi and Fez are planning for their future, having become friends. Rue forgives Elliot as she believes he saved her life, and the pair admit they're not meant to be. Back in the present day, Cassie mocks Lexi at the play and is chased off by Maddie, but Lexi continues, dedicating her performance to Fez. Rue then makes a heartfelt speech at her dad's wake, later thanking Lexi for teaching her to love life again. Elsewhere, Fezco pleads with Ash to surrender after they attack Custer, but Ash declines, locking himself in the bathroom with a pretty decent-sized arsenal. Ash is then shot dead by police and Fezco is wounded. Cal is then confronted by Nate with a gun and a USB containing explicit videos, which reveals how messed up he is after viewing them at such a tender age. The police then arrive to arrest Cal, and Cassie informs Maddie that Nate broke up with her. Jules then tells Rue she misses her, and Rue kisses her on the forehead before leaving. We then learn she managed to stay clean, and that she's hopeful for what the future might hold. Quite the episode. So let's get into the clues which hinted at Ashtray's fate now. Stay tuned. After the first episode of the season, some fans claimed that Ash's fate had already been sealed, with some pretty big clues hinting at what might lie ahead for him. Ashtray, as we just mentioned, met a grisly end after being shot by police. I mean, he was surrounded by a ton of weapons and seemed pretty unstable. As we know, Ashtray was raised by Fez and Marie after he had been left in Marie's care as collateral by his drug addict mother. And when Rue is explaining all of this, she actually refers to Ash in the past tense, saying Ash was his brother. He loved him like a brother, which alludes to the fact that he isn't around anymore. Most viewers failed to pick up on it, but once you go back and watch the season, it's pretty obvious. Once you see this slip, it was obvious Ash's days were numbered from the very start, but it's definitely a very subtle hint. The hint, which was picked up on by quite a few fans, was then debated, and some other fans claimed that this wasn't a telltale sign that Ashtray would die, as Rue always narrates in the past tense. Cue a lengthy debate about the nuances of narration, with one fan claiming it wouldn't be was, because even in past tense, if he was still alive, he would still be his brother. Kind of makes sense, we guess. Do you guys think this was a hint or just a Freudian slip? Were there any other clues? Indeed, there were. In another scene where Rue is explaining Fez's childhood head injury, we see a very brief image of Ashtray's face just before he is shot by the cops. It's literally on screen for a split second and appears in a sort of yellow haze. The image appears as she says, "This was his first dark spot. He didn't really remember anything for at least 2 months, just an occasional image and an overwhelming fear about who was gonna take care of Ashtray." The exact same image is seen again in the final episode as Ashtray is seen with a red dot on his forehead, in the crosshairs of the SWAT team. And the fact that Ash and Fez's relationship was chronicled in the very first episode has been suggested that the season would come full circle and end with the pair's relationship in tatters as Ashtray dies. And one fan channeled their inner Nostradamus by saying, "Hear me out. Season 2 started odd with Fez and Ashtray, and I think it's ending with them. That first episode was emphasizing the connection between Fez and Ashtray. I think Ashtray is gonna die and Fez is going to jail. Pretty creepy." Another made reference to the fact that Fez had spoken of how important Ash was to him in the first episode, so it was probably only going to end one way. It has also been pointed out that Ash was extremely protective of Fez throughout the whole season, so it was quite obvious he would sacrifice himself in the end. What did you make of Season 2? What other hints were there throughout the season? Stay with us to find out. So as we mentioned, there's a ton of evidence to suggest that Ash wouldn't make it to the end of the season alive, and some fans have suggested that the trailer made it look too obvious that Fez would die, which was obviously now just a red herring to throw fans off the scent of what would actually happen. One fan pointed to the fact that if Fez was to die for real, then they wouldn't make it obvious at all, just like they didn't make it obvious that it was in fact Ashtray who dies, as they didn't want fans to guess. And whilst there were a lot of on-screen hints, there were also a few off-screen hints too. It has recently been confirmed that Javon Walton, who plays Ashtray, will appear in the upcoming season of the Umbrella Academy, so the writing was on the wall from this point of view too. Not only this, but Javon also harbors desires of representing the United States at the Olympics, as he's an avid amateur boxer. He was recently quoted as saying, "My biggest goal is go to the Olympics, and I just want to be known for all my sports." And while most of the rest of the cast shared their excitement for the future Euphoria seasons on social media, Javon was conspicuous in his lack of posts, which fans suggested was because he wouldn't be appearing past season 2. Who was your favorite character in the first 2 seasons? Let us know below. What do we know about season 3 then? Let's discuss. Well, we know for a fact that the 3rd season has been confirmed, but it is so far unknown as to when it might drop. And as we know all too well, the 2nd season saw pretty big delays due to the COVID pandemic. But if things go to plan over the next 12 months, there's no reason why we couldn't see the 3rd installment as early as the 1st quarter of 2023. It's no secret that studios and TV heads are ramping up production of shows since the pandemic due to lost revenue, which is great for TV fans. And HBO is no different. Euphoria is the channel's biggest performer after Game of Thrones since 2004, so it is obvious they want it to return as soon as possible. As well as the show's massive success on HBO, it is also the most tweeted about show of the decade so far, with a huge 34 million tweets. It is expected that Zendaya will reprise her role as Rue, which fans will be delighted about. As well as Zendaya, Hunter Schafer is expected to return as Jules, and Jacob Elordi should return as Nate. We also think that Alexa Demie, Barbie Ferreira, Algie Smith, Sydney Sweeney, and Maude Apatow will sign on again for a 3rd season. Hopefully, if Dominic Fike returns, there will be a limited number of controversial guitar performances this time around. Who are you most looking forward to seeing once the show returns? Let us know below. And finally, what do we think the premise will be for the 3rd season? Stay with us. After the heartbreaking ending to the 2nd season, fans have a ton of questions which they will need the 3rd season to address immediately. But how exactly all of the show's cliffhangers play out is yet to be seen. Although Ash wasn't conclusively shown to have died, we can't see him having survived a bullet through the forehead. Also, what about Fez? Will he survive? We think he probably does, so the 3rd season could see him jailed for his part in the attack on Custer. Then there's the relationship between Cassie and Maddie, who we saw have a massive fight at the end of the 2nd season, so it'll be interesting to see how their relationship plays out. And what about Rue and Jules? It seems as though they've made up, and Rue has forgiven Jules for telling her mom about her drug problem. And will Nate's brother finally make an appearance? We hope so. What would you like to see answered in the 3rd season of Euphoria? Give us your thoughts below. As always, thanks for stopping by today, and make sure to tune in next time. Also, feel free to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Bye, guys!